So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we're following the theme of 13 hours. So you've seen our interview with Max Martini. Well, Max Martini portrayed the wonderful Mark Geist in 13 hours, and it's an absolute honor to have the man himself that went through the Battle of Benghazi. It's Mark Geist. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And how's everything been treating you during this lovely COVID?
It's been good. I mean, I've got my opinions on the whole thing, but overall, I mean, I just keep living life.
Yeah, keep moving forwards. That's the aim of the game. But I'm sure everything will get sorted, and decisions are made correctly, which I'm sure they are at the moment. Obviously, there's a lot of opinions. I'm not very political, so I'm sure that we're not going to get into a political stance. Some people like someone and some people don't. Me personally, I quite like him, but that's me. But again, I'm English, so I can't say anything about American politics.
Yeah, I tell you, outside of the politics, I just wish that, they would follow the science, and I don't believe they're completely following the science, at least not here on this side of the pond.
Has everything opened up over there yet, or is it everything?
It's kind of opened up with a lot of restrictions. School. I've got an 8-year-old little girl. She is going to school full time, but she has to wear a mask all the time.
Really?
Yeah. And
wow.
Then the older kids from like 6th grade up through, so that would be like 11 through 18 aren't going to school at all. They're getting it all online at home.
Wow. I mean,
yeah.
I've got a seven-year-old little girl, and she goes back this Thursday to school, but they're not wearing masks. I've also got a 2-year-old little girl that's actually going to nursery for the first time. So we're on edge a bit, but all we can do is follow guidance that's been given to us and make sure everyone's washing hands and following the right guidance. But anyway, let's talk about what I got you on the show for. And again, it's a great honor because the film 13 Hours, I've probably seen about 20 times. And
Wow.
I just think it's an awesome movie. And it's probably the closest I will ever get to something like that. And, be the comfort of my own home. So let's start back, Mark, at your start in your life. You was a Marine. And what did you do in the Marines?
I started out, I was in the infantry, ended up in a surveillance and target acquisition platoon, and then finished out my career. My last 6 years was as an interrogator translator.
Right.
I speak Persian Farsi as a second language.
That is awesome. And then you left the Marines to become a police chief. Was that correct?
Well, I became a deputy sheriff first, and then did that for about 3 years, mainly investigating crimes against children and crimes against families.
Yeah.
And then after that, I took a job as chief of police in a real small town near where I grew up.
So what made you go from being a Marine to a police officer, and I read a bounty hunter as well? So there's a lot of criminals out there that aren't very happy right now that obviously met you in the wrong terms.
Yeah. So, I got out of the Marine Corps because I was deploying a lot. 6 to 9 months out of the year is what we were looking at. And I had a brand new son and just really didn't want to be away from him that much. So I made and I say this with a little bit of condescending in there, but I made the choice to get out of the Marine Corps, become a police officer or a deputy sheriff, and still work odd hours as law enforcement does. And, it's on call 24/7. So it really didn't help out there. And me and my first wife got divorced because of me and my careers.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine it's an easy job being in the police, especially now. To be fair, I've got a friend that's just joined, and he's facing so much stuff here in the UK. So you then became part of the GRS. If you could explain what the GRS are and do, if possible.
Well, initially I started private contracting or working in Iraq as a private security contractor in 2004. Worked for a couple different companies, worked with a lot of Brits, worked with some South Africans, I lived on a camp. We had a camp with about 900 Iraqis on it. So we were mainly training the SWAT teams and training the emergency response units until I did get picked up to work with GRS, which is Global Response Staff. And our job was to basically be bodyguards for case officers within the CIA.
Or shall we say a cooking school? Because
Yeah,
that's what what it was called,
Culinary Institute of America.
which is awesome, which is absolutely awesome. So, if you could paint a picture, what is Benghazi actually like to be in? Because, I mean, I'm sure the film portrayed it in a certain way, but from your opinion, what was Benghazi like?
I had been there about 45 days before September 11th. I mean, the average person there, probably like the average person, they were like the average person in every country I've ever been to. Really the person that's working in the street or living day to day just wants to make some money, try to keep the government or some radical militia from taking most of it, get their kids to school, and not have to worry about getting killed or blown up, um, it's the radical elements of any society that really cause all the problems, and that's kind of what
Mm,
was there as well. And most of those guys didn't come out till after dark. So, um,
mm,
I could drive around. We'd stop and have tea with some of the locals, and at that point, they were really happy because we helped get rid of Gaddafi, the coalition between the United States, Britain, France, Germany, all that Hillary Clinton had put together. Um, and but the people in Benghazi were from a different tribe than the people that were from Gaddafi and from Tripoli. So, that's some of the dichotomy of the Middle East is just because they're Arabs doesn't mean that they all get along.
yeah, of course, of course. So on September the 11th, 2012, a group of men, brothers, warriors, showed true grit in saving the lives of a lot of Americans. Um, and from my opinion, from with no support from their country. Um, you know, how did that make you feel? Because you're in the middle of Benghazi and everything's hitting the fan, and you don't get any support from your country. I mean, what actually went wrong?
Um, Politics. Politics went wrong. When you have people who are in charge, and I don't call them leaders because politics is a popularity contest. Leadership is the opposite of that. If you're a good leader, if you're a true leader, most of your guys don't really like you that much because you're making the hard decisions. And that's the challenge that all of our politicians from around the world have to make is, they're there to be, unless it's a dictator like Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein or that kind, they don't have to win the popularity contest. They just have to make that decision. But our politicians trying to worry about how things look, how it's going to affect an election, all of those things shouldn't matter when it comes to people who are sitting on a rooftop anywhere and dying.
Hmm. I mean, this is what I don't get because I've been to the States quite a lot. I like my American history. I've been to plenty of football games, basketball, and I've got to say how patriotic Americans can be is just overwhelming. It's just amazing that the fact of beginning of each game, they stand up, they pay tribute to all the armed forces, but yet from my you know what I see, I think it's really bad that obviously politics, takes precedence in saving lives. I mean, during the attack of September the 11th, what was going through your mind? When everything was hitting the fan.
The biggest thing was just making sure that the people that I was tasked with protecting, that our team was tasked with protecting, made it home alive.
Yeah.
Um, we put out the call for help, but when you're getting shot at, the last thing you're thinking about, it's probably the first thing you should be thinking about, but really it's the last thing you're thinking about is whether or not help's coming. You're worried about taking care of what's in front of you,
Mm. And have you
that immediate threat.
and have you ever been in that sort of situation before in the Marines?
Not while I was in the Marine Corps, but I was private contracting. I was a private security contractor for 9.5 years in the Middle East in various different countries, and it wasn't the first time that I'd had somebody shooting at me or trying to blow me up.
Wow. And a moment from that night that really sticks out. What would that be? That you think of.
I mean, there's obviously when I got blown up and everything then, but really what sticks to my mind is just having, you know, two two big ones other than that was when I first got back, because I'd been out in town with a female case officer. I got back and was into the Annex when the rest of the guys had went over to the consulate, and I'm pretty much the guy that's in charge of security there, and I've got the responsibility of making sure 20 some odd people make it home, and that's not having a whole lot of assets there. I had a couple guys that were that helped out, but for the most part, it was weighing, that weight was on my shoulders. And then the other big one was in between the second and third firefight at the Annex was when I was up on the rooftop with Tyrone Woods. Just having some of the conversations with him. Things it's kind of slowed down. Your adrenaline's kind of wearing off a little bit, and we're just kind of talking about our kids, and because he had a young boy at the time that he'd only seen once. My little girl was 7 months old. All of us that were in the security team, all of us had kids that were really young, and so that was just kind of the conversations that we kind of went over a little bit.
Mm. And you mentioned earlier on that you got injured quite badly. How is everything now? I noticed, was it your arm that got?
Yeah, it's this arm right here. I had shrapnel go through here, come out the other side, disintegrated 2 inches of the radial bone, the median nerve, shattered the ulna, piece of skin right through here, and then this piece of muscle right here was about all that was holding it on. And
Wow. And I saw
I got hit in the neck and chest.
Wow.
Go ahead.
So so you're doing well now. You're doing well now. I noticed at the end of the movie it said that you had to re-enlist so you could get the medical, help.
Yeah.
Why did you have to re-enlist? Why couldn't you get the medical help anyway?
Well, I could have gotten medical help as a contractor, and it was an easier way of saying that I was re-enlisted. It's an easier way of saying that I had approval by the Secretary of Defense to get treatment in military hospitals. Otherwise, had I not, as a private security contractor, we're not taken care of by the military other than immediate care and then going back to a regular hospital. And, with the politics behind Benghazi at that time, they felt that it was better to put me in a military hospital. Plus, our military doctors have seen a lot of injuries that are like what I had compared to our civilian doctors. And one, I think they just wanted, and I'm glad that they did keep the media away from me, because if I'd have went to a regular hospital, it would have been out all over that I was in that hospital, and I would have got inundated with media that, and at that time, all I wanted to do was be with my family and heal, and didn't need people swarming all over me.
Yeah, and obviously your recovery afterwards. Did you have any reoccurring conditions regarding? I know you mentioned PTSD, but you don't call it with a D on the end.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a disorder. I mean, a disorder kind of makes it seem like it's that you're crazy or something like that. It's just an injury of the brain,
Yeah.
like anything else, is the way I kind of look at it. And, I've had 14 surgeries, 15 surgeries. I had because I got hit all over with shrapnel. I had about 20, 25 holes in me, in the neck, up and around my eyes, chest, both legs, up and down both arms. So I've had some hernias that have kind of come through because they had to cut me open in my stomach to check to make sure I didn't have any shrapnel in my insides. And when they did that, they didn't sew it up real quick, or they sewed it up real quick and didn't get everything just as it should, and caused some weaknesses in the abdominal wall. So I had to go back in and get some other follow-on surgeries to take care of some of that stuff as well.
A true warrior. They didn't get you. They didn't take you down. Good for you. And then
No.
2 years after that, we have this beautiful thing here.
Yes.
Oh, it's messing about with my green screen. Which is 13 hours. And can I just add, I've got the signed edition.
Awesome.
Which can I just add? I didn't realize that you can actually buy the book from your website,
Yes.
markgeist.com, $50, which is a bargain, and it's signed as well. So
Yes.
I urge everyone to go over there and grab the book. I haven't started reading it yet because I've got two little girls, and I'm trying to find the appropriate time to sit down and actually get a bit of quiet time. So how did the book come about for you?
It's I had initially, the rest of the guys that went to work, I had initially gotten contacted by a friend of a friend who had knew some people in Hollywood. They were interested in doing a movie about my whole life. I ended up having an opportunity to speak with Clint Eastwood about that. And first question out of his mouth was, have you written a book? And I'm like, no. He says, well, go write a book. And so I went and got an agent, went through that whole process, actually had a contract waiting for a large amount of money. But before I wrote the book, or before I signed that contract, me and the rest of the guys kind of talked and thought that the story would be better told if it was told by all of us instead of just one of us, because we all did different things throughout that night and over that period of time, and we were in different locations. And to get a full understanding of what happened and truly what it was like for us as a team, we just felt that it was better that we all kind of collaborated on it. And so we were all able to do that, and had a much better book, I think, than if it would have just been about my life, because my life's kind of boring.
Well, some might disagree, but 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 yeah. So it became a bestseller, and it's climbed the charts, and it sold so well. And then then a movie, Michael Bay. How cool is that? I mean, how did that come about from the book?
Well, our agent who helped us get the book deal worked for a group called 3 Arts, who has a production company in Hollywood, and they, and I think they from the very beginning knew that this would be a great movie, and we pitched it to a bunch of the companies out there, the movie companies, and luckily for us, and I think it was, it was the grace of God that it was somebody like Michael Bay who had the star power and the pull with Paramount to get this movie done and done right.
Yeah, apparently, according to Max, Michael Bay gets given a passion project as part of his deal, and this was his passion project, and you can
Yep.
completely see why. So, what was your involvement during the actual making of the movie? What did you input, to the actual project?
Well, and you sign your life rights away when you sell your story. So basically, they can depict you however they want. But Paramount and Michael Bay was so good about it, because they actually gave us the script before it was finalized. They let us go through it. We asked for some things to be changed. Some of them they made, some of them they didn't. But Michael sat down with us and explained all the ones why he didn't want to do, why he didn't want to change it, or why he was choosing to do it the way that he wanted to. And it all made sense, and it didn't take away from the truthness of the story, from the spirit of what happened. Because one of the big ones is during the movie, it shows us mainly fighting from 2 rooftops. In reality, we're fighting from 4 because we have to cover 360 degrees. And the attacks came from just 2 sides. So if you would have depicted it where it was complete reality and like in a documentary, a couple of the guys really wouldn't have been involved in much of the fighting. And then that would have took away from the idea of showing how much it took us as a team to work together to really survive that night.
Yeah. And also, let's talk about Max Martini. What a wonderful guy. I mean, to get an actor like that to play you on screen, not only does he look like you, but he's an awesome guy. I mean, did you request certain things from Michael or from Max when, Max was going to portray you on screen?
It didn't really have to. I mean, Max, when it came out that he was going to portray me, I mean, it was just a natural. I mean, we didn't get a chance to actually meet before the filming, but we got to talk a lot over the phone, and it really kind of gave me a greater respect for what these guys do as actors to get it right. Because when we would talk on the phone, I mean, he wanted to know about me growing up and my past and just all of that, and I was kind of like, what's that got to do with anything that happened in Benghazi? And he says, well, for me to portray you as you, to be you, I need to know who you were before, during, and after. And the work that they put in is tremendous. I mean, and I was really pleased. I mean, we got to hang out on set for a lot of it. Michael Bay brought us out because we filmed in Malta.
Yeah.
What a beautiful place. I mean, I should be their tour guide there, because or their tour ambassador, because I tell everybody, if you want to go on a beautiful vacation in the Mediterranean, you couldn't find a better place than Malta. I mean,
did you get a chance to visit that bar that Oliver Reed went to? Because obviously they filmed Gladiator there, and apparently, sadly, the night before Oliver Reed passed away, he spent the night drinking with a load of sailors all night at a bar in Malta. Literally had pints of beer, bottles of whiskey, and sadly his heart gave out the next day. But apparently they've named the bar after him, and it's full of Oliver Reed stuff.
To be honest, I don't remember. I will say that we did consume our fair share of alcoholic beverages. Because we would be working most of the time. We were working. I mean, we'd start in the mid-afternoon and film till 2 or 3 in the morning. And most of our consuming of any alcohol products took place back at the hotel, because everything's closed by then. And then we'd sit around till daylight, going over what would happen, how we think things should be different for the next one. And that was, me and Max and all the other guys and the actors. We just kind of sit around and till daylight came up, and then we'd all kind of catch about 3-4 hours of sleep, wake up, hit the gym or go for a swim, and then about 3 o'clock hit it back on set and just work all night again.
I heard as well a funny story about when you was on set and you swapped with Max for a shot, and apparently no one noticed.
No, because on set every set of clothes that an actor is going to have, every outfit, they have at least 2 sets. Wardrobe does, because if there's something wrong with if they have a malfunction or something with the wardrobe on, they don't want to shut down all the filming, so they just have extras there. Well, I had told Michael Bay, I said, I want a cameo in the show, and he's like, no, I don't plan on that. I don't do that. And I'm kind of a stubborn jarhead, so I was like, I'm going to figure this out. So me and Max started talking, And I had went over to wardrobe, got the exact same outfit that he was wearing, and was standing across the street. And it was one of the scenes where they were in the vehicle and they were going into the consulate. And Michael Bay was up at the window talking, leaning over John Krasinski, talking to him, kind of going over what their lines were and what he expected. And then when he turned around to walk up there, me and Max just kind of switched out, and Michael Bay didn't know it until when it came up to say Max's lines or my lines. I didn't know what they were, so I just kind of ad-libbed, and it kind of caught Michael Bay off guard there.
I presume he laughed. He wasn't angry.
At first he kind of was, and then everybody was laughing. And because I told him, I said, Michael, I told you I was going to get it. Now just make sure it makes it in the movie. Well, he had the last laugh because he wouldn't get included in the movie.
I can't believe they didn't give you a cameo in the movie.
That would have
been awesome.
Because I know that's the only time I'm going to ever have a chance to be in a major motion picture. Because, I mean, it's not like I've got any other talent other than what I've been doing.
Well, you know what? You need to be writing your life story and get good old Clint Eastwood to, because he's a great director as well. Absolutely amazing director. And I'm sure it'll be a hell of a film. So what we see on screen in 13 hours of movie, you know, how close is that? I know that obviously films that are based on true events, they do either elaborate on things or make it, you know, a bit bigger because it's the movies. But in a nutshell, how much of it on screen is what happened?
You know, everything. The only thing that really didn't happen in reality that was in the movie, and that was the bus bomb. After the second firefight at the Annex, they pulled out that bus came up and they were taking out that big bomb. And, you know, and we had asked Michael, you know, what in the heck are we putting that in there? I mean, there's enough explosions already. And his reasoning for it is, you know, he says, I'm trying to make sure that I keep people's anticipation up, keep that energy of the movie up. And if the second firefight at the Annex would have ended as the first one did, which is what really happened, is we killed a bunch of them and they decided that they didn't want to fight us for a while. They went back to regroup. It would kind of be a letdown. So if you as the viewer watching it, was how he explained it is, okay, you had the first firefight, they're coming back at you with 2 to 3 times as many people. And then we have this bus bomb. Now, everybody knows it gets worse. How much worse is it going to get after that big bus bomb? So basically, as he said, it keeps people's butts in the seat. So yeah, I understood why he did it. And it made sense. I mean, you know, we kind of said, hey, you're the expert at making movies. We ain't going to tell you how to make a movie. Just don't tell us how to do security either. But
yeah, I mean, do you keep in contact with all your warrior friends still?
You know, yeah, we do. It's not all the time, you know, not a lot because we're all busy doing other things. I mean, you know, we're coming up here in 10 days. 10, 11 days is going to be the anniversary, and it's been 8 years already. And it's hard. You sit back and look at that it's been that long ago. You know, and so we always get together or at least talk on September 11th, September 12th. That's
awesome. That is awesome. I mean, what was the premiere like? Because you had the premiere in good old Dallas, Texas. Yeah. Was that the new stadium or the old one? Because I've been to I think the old one.
This is the new one. It was, it had the largest, at that time, it was the largest, basically TV screen in the world up there. And if looking back from researching it, we had the largest attendance of any premiere other than Passion of Christ, when Passion of Christ was in the Philippines. I think we had close to 40,000 people at the premiere.
And what was that like, seeing that movie and you being portrayed? What was your thoughts of the movie when you first saw it?
Well, for us, that wasn't the first time we'd seen it.
Right.
Michael Bay had brought us all out to Hollywood, to include Ty's family, Glenn's family, all of those that all of us that were directly involved in our families on the security team. And we all had our own little mini premiere out in Hollywood on Paramount Studios, just to make sure. I mean, I think it was one of those things they wanted to make sure that, we were good with everything
Yeah.
before it hit the big screen. But, it was seeing that, it was amazing. I never in my life would have thought that I'd have had a movie made about me.
Yeah. And what a movie. It's just absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously you talk about the book and the film and getting the truth out there. Do you think the truth has got out there now on actually what happened? Because again, not going over politics too much because it goes straight over my head, to be fair. But do you think the book and the film has helped a lot getting out what actually happened?
Yeah, and I think, and that's really because it really was never in our, especially for the rest of the guys, it wasn't really in their mind to, and even mine. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, I want to go do this happened to me and I got to go write a book and make a movie. And the whole reason for my idea of making anything was I was injured and I knew I wasn't going to be able to go back to work. And partly, my initial thoughts were that I needed to find a way to take care of my family. And what really triggered it mostly, though, was when they started telling the story, they were not telling the story as it happened on the ground. I didn't care about the politics. I mean, politicians had taken, as I've said many times, they took that football, threw it back and forth, and no one scored a touchdown at all. I mean, what they left out was what happened on the ground. And I think everybody should know, what happened on the ground. They needed to know the truth because, we have, and just as, in England, in Britain, I mean, you guys have a lot of diplomatic posts around the world and you have a lot of military. I don't know if the contractors are as big with you guys as they are with us, but I know that you guys got contractors and military and civilian employees around the world working at all these facilities. And, when you have the American flag or the British flag flying above something in foreign soil, there's always people out there that want to hurt you and want to take that away. And that sacrifice that we have of that people are making for our two countries. I mean, because really we're sister, we're sister countries, brother sister countries, so to speak. And there's going to be people after us, and we have a lot of brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, civilians, and government employees who serve our countries and serve them well all over the world to make sure that that these last two bastions of freedom stay free.
Well said. Well said. And then we talk about obviously you saying that you wanted to look after yourself, but you do a lot for others, Mark. You've got some great charities, the Shadow Warriors and the Canine Program. If you could just explain what the Shadow Warriors are and how we can support that.
As private security contractors with the U.S. government, our medical is really a workman's comp policy. And while you're working, you get paid while you're working. But if you're not working or if your feet aren't in the country you're contracted with, you're not getting paid. So, literally overnight, my pay went from about $750 a day to about $80 a day, $90 a day. And so we really struggled, me and my family did initially, trying to make bills meet and, take care of the medical and everything. So I just didn't want to see anybody else have to deal with that. So we started our program, and what we do is we support the private security contractors and and their families should they get injured or killed overseas, and make sure that they're taken care of, that they don't have to worry about making ends meet while they're grieving or burying a loved one or trying to heal. And then we've recently started a dog program that is, we help both private security contractors and military veterans with service canines. And the company that we've partnered with is called Baden Canine. and they're actually out of Canada. So they raise some of the best and well-trained Malinois and Dutch Shepherds and German Shepherds that I've ever seen around the world. And we use that animal to help heal the warrior. And it's just a great program seeing what these dogs do for us. I mean, man and dog kind of have a spiritual connection, I think, beyond any other animal, because dogs are the only animal that leave their own kind to come be with us.
Mm.
And I think there's personally, I think that God put them in the Garden of Eden to help us. I mean, they've been in almost every archaeological dig that we've ever seen and that we've ever had. And so I just use that to help people get healed.
That is awesome work. And how we can help, I've noticed on the website, you can buy some amazing T-shirts.
Yes.
Which got some awesome designs on them. They really have.
Yeah, they do. They do. That's one of them I'm wearing right now. This is our logo for Shadow Warriors Project. And then on the back, it's you can kind of see it's basically
awesome.
a kind of a cyborg contractor and his.
So basically you.
Yeah. And, it says on there, private security contractors are a special kind of crazy.
Yeah. Are they? Well, I suppose
Yeah.
they've got to, haven't they? Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. It really has. And you're going to get your dog over.
Yeah. Come here.
Do you know what? I had a German Shepherd Collie cross, and she was beautiful. Oh, look at that. Do you know what? How anyone could be mean to dogs, I just don't understand. The most precious things, they really are. And do you know what gets me is when you see these certain breeds that they're trying to get rid of. And do you know what? They are pack animals, and they are an animal, but it's when you talk about nature or nurture. If you're kind to them, if you treat them right, they'll look after you. And
it's all about training.
yeah.
It's I mean, they are made. God put them on this earth to serve man, and to serve mankind. And they will do phenomenal things for people, for our warriors, if they're treated right.
No, that's awesome. I've got Dominic Famusa coming on the show next week as well. I'm going
Awesome.
13 crazy, so he's the one that obviously played Tig. I'm going down the line. I'm going down the line because it's just a great film. So you can get the book from Mark's website, signed, of course, which is awesome, and obviously your wonderful T-shirts. Mark, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you. It's a massive honor to speak to an American hero, because it's not often that you can speak to someone that's been through something like you have come through the other end, and who has an incredible story. So even though I'm in English, thank you for your service for the American people. I think that we should look after our veterans. I know Max does a lot of work as well, especially with his movie Sergeant Will Gardner, which is an awesome film. It's awesome. It only just came out in the UK, believe it or not, and I watched it, and yeah, it brought plenty of tears to my eyes, and it just makes you realize that you've got to do a lot more in life to support and help those out that have sacrificed so much for us without us realizing.